of the well-known local nonprofit is expected back in court. Last Friday, a judge ruled that Ruby Corrado should remain jailed pending the outcome of this afternoon's hearing.
Corrado founded Casa Ruby, and for years it helped provide housing and support for LGBTQ+ youth. But the organization shut down in 2022. Prosecutors accused Corrado of stealing $300,000 in federal pandemic relief and going to El Salvador. She was arrested last week after returning to the States. Prosecutors say she is a flight risk.
Well, today on Capitol Hill, the former special counsel who investigated Joe Biden's mishandling of classified documents has a hearing. Robert Hur is the former U.S. attorney in Maryland. His investigation did not find grounds to file any criminal charges against Biden, but his report about it caused controversy last month when it raised questions about Biden's memory. Today's hearing is before the Republican-run House Judiciary Committee.
And we are halfway to peak bloom now for the cherry blossoms that we love so much, but they had to withstand a lot yesterday with all that wind. So we sent our Jess Arnold down to the Tidal Basin this morning to check in on them.
As of Friday, the blossoms have reached stage 3, which is the extension of florets. So far, peak bloom is still forecasted to happen next weekend, but the National Park Service says it's really all dependent on the weather, and we are supposed to have an unseasonably warm week. So we will see if that ends up moving up the timeline. Now, our meteorology team actually did find an indicator tree that had been blooming yesterday. You can see that here, which they do up to 10 days ahead of the rest of the trees. Now, NPS says that the blossoms progression from stage 1 to 2 this year was the fastest they've seen in 20 years. So we'll see if those blooms again come any earlier. Another thing that we're paying attention to here is repairing the tidal basin to preserve these trees. Over the years, much of the seawall has eroded and is no longer structurally sound. And Mike Litterst, who is the spokesperson for the National Park Service, said they plan to start that project later in the spring, but they're going to have an announcement about it later this week. To bring it back to the blooms, yesterday was so windy, remember, that it knocked huge trees over, kept many of us awake. So we asked Mike if they impacted the cherry blossoms at all.
The buds are still nice and tight, nothing to be affected by the winds. If we were later in the bloom cycle, if we were starting to see petals or if the blossoms are out, that's a concern for wind. But short of, a strong enough gust to bring a tree down or knock branches off, no problem. Peak bloom is still on course for all the buds.
We'll be keeping an eye on all of these blossoms to see if the weather does in fact move up their timeline for that peak bloom. At the Tidal Basin, Jess Arnold, WUSA 9.
And you can scan this QR code on your screen to check out our complete cherry blossoms guide. You can find it right now at WUSA9.com and, of course, our free WUSA 9 app. And we've been talking about this all morning long. The ACC tournament tips off in just over 4 hours, and it's back in D.C. for the first time since 2016. So for 5 days, 15 teams, along with many fans, will pack Capital One Arena and also the Chinatown area. And of course, local business owners nearby are hoping for a big boost out of this. They say they're still trying to find their place in this challenging post-pandemic economy.
We've had a lot of closures of restaurants, bars close by to us, and we definitely want to be able to survive, and the support from local and from outside the market makes a huge difference, and we really appreciate it.
Attendance numbers have steadily grown for this tournament in the last few years. Alumni groups from the 15 ACC schools have already reserved rooms and also some spaces at several restaurants and bars around Chinatown. Alrighty, 9:37 on this Tuesday, and it is a gorgeous day outside. That is where Wisdom has made his way outside, Wiz, to check in with the ACC mascots. Can you hear us?
It's mascot. Yeah, hey, Annie, it's mascot time here. Check it out. Everybody's here. Everybody's here. Now, I'm not going to try to go through and name everybody because I do know them, but I don't want to put, you guys on the spot back in the studio, so I'll just interview the guy from Notre Dame right here. Are you a Leprechaun officially because that's their mascot?
You know, man, Leprechaun Ryan at your disposal.
Leprechaun Ryan. All right. So tell me about this ACC tournament being here in Washington, D.C. Is this a good venue for you guys?
Oh, are you kidding me?